Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, selamat bergabung dalam channel Instagram Rumah Moderasi Beragama IAIN Manado. Pada siang hari ini kita kedatangan tamu dari Amerika, Profesor Dustin Cowell yang kebetulan sedang berkunjung di IAIN Manado. Nah, kita ingin membincangkan satu tema yang sangat penting saat ini, tapi mungkin sebelumnya saya perkenalkan Profesor Dustin Cowell, atau kita panggil Pak Dustin ya. Pak Dustin ini beliau adalah pengajar di bahasa Arab di salah satu universitas di Amerika di dekat kota Chicago. Nanti beliau akan mungkin menjelaskan, tapi sudah lama sekali sering bolak-balik ke Amerika, ke Indonesia, di antaranya juga ke Manado beberapa kali sejak tahun, saya kira sudah lama sekali ya, ke Manado, kemudian mengajar bahasa Arab, mengajar bahasa Inggris, juga pernah mengajar di Malaysia, traveling ke seluruh dunia. Beliau malah melintang di berbagai negara, saya kira. Dan pada siang hari ini kita akan membicarakan satu topik tentang fenomena protes mahasiswa di Amerika yang melawan atau menentang policy dari Presiden Amerika sekarang yang membantu Israel. Protes-protes itu kita akan bertanya dari sana, tapi mungkin sebelum itu kita kepingin mungkin Pak Dustin Cowell untuk mengenalkan diri, siapa beliau dan bagaimana aktivitasnya sekarang. Silakan Pak Dustin Cowell, you can speak in English but slowly. Oke, silakan Pak.
Okay. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. I have received my training in the United States of America. I did my first degree in Spanish literature at Pomona College in the southern part of California. And I received my degree in my bachelor's degree in Spanish literature in 1967. And then I pursued my doctoral studies in the University of California at San Diego, earning my degree in comparative literature in 1976, with my dissertation about a poet who wrote in Arabic in the city of Cordova in Al-Andalus, or in southern Spain. And I wrote about the poetry he composed in his lifetime between 860 AD until 940 AD or CE. So that's my training is in medieval Arabic and medieval Spanish. But after I finished my degree, or before I finished, I started teaching Arabic language and literature at the University of Wisconsin. I started in 1973 and taught there until 2016, teaching there for a period spanning 43 years. Since then, I've been retired for the past 8 years, and I've spent a lot of my time in Indonesia, since I have a great fondness for Indonesia and the Indonesian people. And I have also, I first visited EIN Manado, actually with that time Stein Manado in 2001, and then visited frequently and spent some time in 2014 as a research fellow, and now here on a short visit in 2024. And I'm so glad to learn about the initiative for the Rumah Moderasi Agama here at EIN Manado. It's a pleasure for me to talk with you today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Dustin. I'm glad I meet you here. And maybe another thing about you, we want to know, why are you so interested in Arabic? and then what can you learn from that, from Arabic?
Well, I mentioned I did my degree in Spanish, and part of that degree I spent 4 months as a student studying independently in Spain in 1966. And before I went to Spain, I studied the origins of Spanish literature. And the first lecture about the history of Spanish literature was about literature written, or poetry written in Spanish, Old Spanish, but written in Arabic script. I thought that was very interesting. And I had known something about Moorish civilization in Spain, or the Islamic Spain, from my years in studying Spanish in high school. And I decided that during my studies in Spain in 1966, that I would try to study the effect of Islam upon Spanish culture, kind of a general topic. And so I went to Spain in 1966, and by chance, it was an independent program by the Experiment in International Living in my college called Pomona College. And I was sent to Granada, which, as you know, was the last Arabic territory, or the last territory ruled by Islamic rulers in the period between 711 and 1492, when it fell to the Christian forces in 1492. So almost 8 centuries of Islamic civilization in the province of Granada. And there I was, the mentor for my studies was a Spanish woman born in 1897, who was retired teacher of Arabic and the director of the Islamic, or the Arab Museum there in Granada. And then she helped me with my studies of history of Islamic Spain, the libraries there. And when I returned to America, I decided that I would study Arabic. And after graduation from 1967, I got a fellowship from the American government to study Arabic intensively under a Palestinian teacher in an intensive program in 1967. And I started learning Arabic intensively. So my interest in Arabic was interest in Spain and how Arabic had influenced Spanish language and Spanish literature. And then I found a lot of support from the American government in studying Arabic, and also from the university in which I was doing graduate work, which supported my study. So that's how I began to learn Arabic. And of course, with that, I learned about Islam, about the Holy Quran, and learned about Islamic civilization. I lived in Egypt for 2 years studying Arabic at the American University in Cairo. And of course, and I also spent some time in Tunisia with families studying Arabic there at the Forgive Institute in 1970, and living with families there. So I began to learn about Islamic culture through living with people and having kind of like host families. So that's my experience. And I'm not a specialist in Islam, but of course, I'm familiar with it. Since you study or teach Arabic literature, you have to be familiar with both the pre-Islamic period and then the Islamic period, and the contribution of Quran to the development of the Arabic language.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Dustin. Now I think we will talk in more specific issues, as I talked to you before. Before this conversation, we have before this, we have a conversation with you, and you said that you are against the policy of current United States to help the Israel government in sending the arm, or sending the armed missionaries. So could you explore more about that, Prof?
Yes, well, it's always important to distinguish between people of the Jewish faith and between the government of Israel. And even in Israel, there are people that want peace and people that don't want peace. And now in the government of Israel is the most extreme you can have, extremist government of Netanyahu, which only wants more land, more land, more land, no rights for Indonesians, wants to really expel the Palestinians from the land and take over everything. That's what the ultra-right people in Israel want. Not all Israelis, but this is what the government now we have. And so in their response to the October 7th attacks on Israel, which I condemn. Also, I don't support Hamas. I don't support what they do because I think that they did a terrible thing, that they didn't think about the people and they exposed their people to terrible revenge by Israel. But now the revenge by Israel is, it even said by the President Biden that it was over the top. I mean, maybe 1,500 Israelis lost their lives in 2008, in October 7th, 2023, and there's still some hostages that are held hostage in conditions which are not nice. But the response has been killing more than 30,000 people, perhaps. Many are white, many children, and attacking hospitals, churches, mosques. And they're telling people to take refuge in the south, but then bombing the south. So there's no place to be safe in Gaza. And the American government has always said, since the establishment of Israel in 1948, Israel has the right to defend itself. However, the logic is difficult because after 1967, when Israel was supposed to withdraw from lands captured in the 1967 war, there was called the West Bank, west of the Jordan River, which is really Palestine, and the Palestinians had been living there under the Jordanian administration after the petition in 1948, and that was to be Palestinian land. But now the Israeli government has allowed settlers to go in and take over territory that was take over farmland in the Palestinian area and allowed it and to go on. And the United States usually would say that's against international law, but they would still give Israel money and allow them to do that. Although they said, and then when Trump came, Trump said, "Oh, that's fine. Let's have them do it, no problem." And then moved the capital to moved our consulate or our embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel to recognize Jerusalem, to recognize Jerusalem as the capital. And of course, we know that East Jerusalem had been territory that was under the original Palestinian
Okay, excuse me.
administration. Yes.
Excuse me. Can we explore more about what happening now in the U.S. because we know that what happened now among the students in the U.S. protesting the policy of Biden government is I think is something new. I mean something new that show American or United States now probably have a new direction in new direction in responding the issues of conflict between Palestine and Israel, because in the past I think until now, but yes, in the past we see that United States is fairly clearly standing in support the Israel government. But now, yes, still, they are supporting the government of Israel. But I think in another part, I mean, the society, especially students, now doing protests against the government. I think it's something new, which I'm thinking whether this phenomenon or movement among the students will lead United States into new direction in support for Israel or against Israel's government. What do you think, Prof?
Yes, well, I think that before there was, of course, many students were supportive of Israel, but not to a percentage was small. But now the Israeli response has been so terrible, and people can read about the thousands of children who died. The attack of Israel upon, for example, food workers from Australia and Poland trying to bring food to the for the World Kitchen. Their 3 vehicles were attacked specifically by drones, Israeli drones. Although they had asked permission, telling the Israelis that we were coming and we're bringing food, and they were bombed and they died. And so then you see the Australians are quite upset by that. The Canadians are upset by that. And you see the ruthlessness with the Israeli military. You see how they are torturing the Palestinian prisoners, how many people die. And so, of course, we know in war that people lose their humanity. We've seen that, the Americans in Iraq. We've seen how the Americans mistreated the detainees, how they took them to Guantanamo Bay and saying that that's not really America, we can do anything we want, we can violate the Geneva Conventions. So Americans themselves are very guilty of violating the Geneva Conventions about how you treat prisoners. And now the Israelis are doing the same thing, and probably even worse, the way they treat the Palestinians. So they take them into prison, and we saw a mass grave of Palestinians at a hospital. All they want is vengeance. This is so terrible that people who are just ordinary people have become, what is happening? Why is our government giving more and more aid, more and more weapons? And these very weapons are used to kill women and children, defenseless civilians in Gaza, even though they may even support Israel as an idea, but now they are very concerned. And so they're saying, this is not possible. We are to protest. We don't want our government to send weapons and money to a country which is violating all rules of war. I mean, much worse than, there are certain, even war has its rules.
Yeah.
For the civilians. And so now you have many people who normally would not be too motivated to protest, but now it's so terrible. It's such a terrible scale. Killing over 30,000 people, women and children who have nothing to do with the policies of Hamas. It's so terrible, such a magnitude, that you have many more people supporting it. So this is a phenomenon that and many people have no idea much about Islam or anything, but they're saying, this is so terrible, we have to protest. This is a new phenomenon. And now even Biden, of course, Biden is, we have an election coming up in 2024. And of course, Biden depends upon Democrats. And the Democrats have in general liberal towards Muslims, of course, who wanted to have Muslim people come to the country, but always supporting Israel. But Biden's support of Israel, even in his attacks, now he is with the protests. He is afraid for his own election. He's saying, okay, well, maybe we should. Israel has made some war crimes. We're not going to send them weapons if they do this and that. And Netanyahu says, okay, I don't care. I have enough weapons to do what I want in Rafah. But Biden had said, we're going to stop sending aid. Without American aid, Israel cannot survive.
Yes.
With the billions of dollars that we send, they could say, well, we're going to stop sending aid. Of course, if he said that, then he would not get elected, because to be an American president, you have to support Israel. It's a kind of just a reality because of the economic forces in play. But now, of course, now in my campus, University of Wisconsin-Madison, they had an encampment on the lawn, we call the quadrangle. They set up tents in April, and then the university said, well, you have to remove your tents, and they didn't remove them. So the university administration called the police to come and take them away. The police came in their riot gear, and it maybe wasn't so terrible there in Wisconsin, but in other campuses, they were they actually, like in Colombia, they actually attacked the people and hurt them physically. So you have, and this happened in many campuses across the United States. In Wisconsin, they've come to an agreement with the administration saying, okay, the protested, what are their demands? The demands were that the college should divest its investments in companies that make weapons for Israel and other things that help the Israeli defense system. And they, of course, they have, we have what's called an endowment of money, which is invested to help keep the university running physically. And so in the stock market, so they're saying, okay, you should take the money that's invested in these companies and making weapons for Israel, that money should be withdrawn from the stock market. But then the minister said, well, we cannot do that at the campus. We have to, there's something called the regents of the University of Wisconsin, and that the different, not just that individual campus. So they're saying, okay, we will let you talk to the decision makers about investment. We cannot guarantee that, but we will let you talk to them. But in the meantime, we ask that you take away these tents and that you like to have our commencement ceremonies go on there was, for example, in Madison, Wisconsin, 10th and 11th of May. That let them go on peacefully without disruption. And so they agreed to that. So now we have a peaceful situation at the University of Wisconsin-Madison because the administration has listened to the Palestinian cause. They, okay, let's talk about it. And we can let you talk to our investment people about that in the future. And that's something that's probably unique to the University of Wisconsin. The University of Wisconsin is the one university that has found a solution to this, not having the protest disrupt life and disrupt all ceremonies. But now, of course, Biden, of course, is influenced. So he's saying, okay, we were going to stop sending them weapons if they attack Rafah, for example. We're going to, we're not, some Israelis that attack people in the West Bank, we're going to not let them come to America. Okay. Well, these are very small steps.
Okay.
They should stop saying we should stop funding the Israeli government. But they're small steps, and now they're talking about a two-state solution, which is something positive.
Okay, I got your point. Okay, can I say that? Yeah, the growing movement by the student protesting the policy of American government now. It seems to me that it's very difficult to get the what is it the goal of their protest movement. I mean, still in Palestinian government or Palestine state has never been got their acceptance by the American government in the United Nations agreement. I mean, still until now,
resolution, yeah.
Still until now, Palestinian is not independent state according to the union, okay? The United Nations. And I think one of the most problem is because it's a United States, because always when all of the state in the world agree that Palestine state has its own independence, there is a vote from the United States and its allies. I think this is the most problematic for the world. For the idea of Palestinian independence is the problem is from that point. So the movement from student movement in the U.S. now it's growing. But what do you think? Do you think this movement one day can change the policy of United States to the idea of Palestinian independence? Do this movement movement from the student one day can lead to the change of the policy of the United States? And if not, what is the challenge? And if not, what is the challenge? What it make it difficult for I know from your ideas that United States as a government, as the state, and as the society have different ideas, okay?
Sure.
Because the state as policy, the state has different policy from what happened in the society. Because I see maybe the society has opinion for the independence of Palestine, but the state seem to me it's difficult to get into that ideas. So what the crucial ideas that make the opinion between the society and the state is different, or what make it different? And is there any challenge, any change that United States will change their policy in support for the Israel government? What do you think?
Well, I think that we already seen some change in the past 2 months, that Biden has been more critical of Israel, more critical of Netanyahu, and said, okay, we're not going to send you weapons if you continue your bombing in Gaza. That's something he would never have said in October or November. So that's a change. And of course, Biden knows that to be elected, he has to have support of the majority of Democrats. And some Democrats have said, although we're Democrats, we're not going to support you because of your policies towards Israel. And that's already happened. And he has to be very careful. So this has an effect on his choices. Even his wife has said, has been told that she is a favor of a ceasefire in Gaza, whereas he has not called for that. If he's following Netanyahu, say, well, we're not going to call for a ceasefire until Israelis' needs are met. And of course, Hamas still is trying to fight. They don't want to accept Israel as a state. They are still holding hostages. So Biden said, well, until the Hamas gives all hostages back to Israel and gives us this policy of trying to destroy Israel, then I'm not going to call for ceasefire. So there's with no regard for the civilians who are dying and who are being bombed. But so there is even the minister of, the foreign affairs, the leader of the State Department, the foreign affairs, Anthony Blinken has called for a Palestinian state. But what are the terms? That's the question too. So all the United Nations may have a resolution saying we call for a Palestinian state, but then America, we of course agree to that, but with conditions, with certain conditions that are not. And if the call does not contain certain conditions, then they will veto it. So that's the certain legalities which are the problem. So yes, there's a movement. The movement is definitely influencing U.S. policy, and U.S. policy is more critical of Israel, and it may become more critical in the future. And so the discourse in America is now changed, but of course you still have people supporting Trump who are adamantly pro-Israel. They wouldn't even think of anything about, they're adamantly anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian. So that's a large segment of the population. So it's not as if their majority of people are supporting Israel, supporting the Palestinians, but they have a large voice, you might say. And it's still, if people were to say, if Biden say I'm not going to defend Israel, then he would not be elected because of the political realities in the United States.
Yeah,
So
it's
the influence, but it's not the majority of people, and it's a segment of the student population. Of course, you have students who are pro-Israel, of course, too, who attack the pro-Palestinian. So that we've had evidence of that. The pro-Israeli people go and attack the pro-Palestinian on the campus. We have that too. So you still have a divided society. You have the very extreme conservative Christians who see Israel as something in the holy books, saying that Israel is the Palestine's promised land for the
Yes.
Jews, and then they have a very literal interpretation of the Bible and think, well, then that means we have to support the Jewish state. So and of course there are extreme Christians who are against diversity and acceptance of others. So they're not. I mean, the Christians in America are divided. There are some that are very liberal, that support the Palestinians and diversity, and there's some that are very conservative and closed-minded. And those are the ones who support Trump.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Dustin. So I can make conclusion that the political reality in the U.S. is the keyword. I mean, the keyword and the reason why there is dividing policy. I mean, dividing discourse in the U.S. Of course, is in support for Israeli, and then the other one is in support for Palestinian. So this is because of the political reality in the U.S. I think so. Yeah, it's probably it's matter of time whether the U.S. policy will change or not. But it seemed to me that the growing movement now is become probably the momentum of the birth of new movement in support for the Palestinian, and I hope that probably naturally will grow in the U.S. and it will affect the world peace, I guess. So
it's also in Europe, in Canada. Like the Prime Minister of Canada is saying we're going to continue to fund the United Nations Relief Organization for the Palestinians. They have stopped funding because of a certain accusation against certain members, but they say we're going to stop refunding, and some European countries do. So it's not just America; it's France. I mean, it's Canada, which is more supportive now, and some of the European governments, Western Europeans, are more supportive of the Palestinians than in the past, and also like Australia. So it's a world movement now. It's not just the United States. The United States is probably the worst, the most anti-Palestinian you have in the world is the United States, and you have European governments, and of course Germany. Of course, Germany has always felt guilty because of its persecution of the Jews in World War II, and so it's always been supportive of Israel. But now it's beginning to be somewhat critical too. So Germany and the United States have been the most avid supporters, but now we see France and maybe Scandinavian countries and Spain, particularly, more supportive of the Palestinians, and that's an important change.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. Dustin, I think we have limited time. We actually planned for you only 30 minutes, but I think it's over than 30 minutes. I think this is very interesting topic and very interesting ideas from you that show us that there is different opinion among the U.S. citizen. You are a U.S. citizen, aren't you? So there is not only one voice in the U.S. about this conflict between Israel and Palestine. Actually, there are different opinion, different discourse, diverse opinion. But you say that probably among the society in the U.S. society has more now about the voice for stopping the aid for the Israel. But let's see what happens in the future. But I think as conclusion, maybe you can something closing statement or some closing remark as to strengthen your point about the different voice of American society for the conflict and war in the Middle East, especially between Israel and Palestine?
It's ultimately a human issue, and people that have little knowledge of the Palestinian Islam, but when they see what's happening, the terrible destruction, the bombing of children and women and hospitals, and the torture of the Palestinians has been such a magnitude. This is before Israel was always seen as a victim. The Jews were always a victim. Now they're seen as an aggressor by many people. This is a change, and this means that there's less support for the state of Israel, the state. People may still, of course, have very much good affection for Jews, the Jewish people, but not as a state, which is so aggressive and violates all human rights of people. Because of that, on the human level, Israel is losing faith, losing in the world opinion, and at least in the Western countries. And of course, they've always been supported by, of course, the Palestinians have always been supported by Russia and China. So that helped the Palestinians, of course. But now what's important is now Western Europe, Australia, America, Canada, and maybe some of in Latin America, and what their policies are. And of course, places like Ireland, who also felt discriminated against by the British, are very supportive of the Palestinians. So they see themselves, and just like the South Africans experienced apartheid, the Irish experienced exploitation by the British. And so those two countries are very pro-Palestinian. And we say that South Africa then brought an issue in the World Court. So these are the elements that, you have the third world countries in support of Israel, which is something very, very interesting too, that be on Israel's support in the United Nations. And it's just a matter of that the United States is always vetoing resolutions. I think one of the most horrible vetoes was the one that said the vetoing or condemning the new settlements in the West Bank by Israel over the years, and the United States vetoing that. I mean, I can't see any logical support why we would not condemn those settlements of taking Israeli land, taking Palestinian land by Israeli settlers, and that is just so terrible. But I mean, this is the United States government, so now that may change too.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Dustin. Baik teman-teman, kita sudah habis waktu berbicara lebih panjang lagi ya. Intinya saya menyimpulkan kembali bahwa diskusi hari ini menggambarkan perbedaan opini atau diskurs wacana tentang membantu atau tidak Israel di Amerika itu terbagi-bagi ya. Jadi tidak satu suara. Jadi di Amerika terdapat perbedaan suara. Tentunya yang terpenting government secara resmi sepertinya tetap membantu Israel suaranya. Tapi sekarang mulai berkembang suara-suara civil society di Amerika yang mencoba untuk men-challenge, menentang apa yang dilakukan government, dan menurut Prof. Dustin ya sedikit ada yang berhasil ya, seperti policy Biden yang terakhir ini mengancam untuk memberhentikan bantuan untuk Israel. Tapi ini penting sekali bahwa diskusi hari ini memberikan paling tidak gambaran kepada kita, ternyata di US tidak satu suara, dan mudah-mudahan ke depan apa yang terjadi di masyarakat sipil di US akan bisa merubah policy internasional yang dilakukan Amerika sehingga lebih adil dan memberikan masa depan yang lebih baik bagi perdamaian dunia. Saya kira mungkin cukup untuk pertemuan hari ini. Terima kasih sekali lagi kami sampaikan kepada Prof. Dustin atas kesediaannya untuk hadir di channel TV Rumah Moderasi Beragama. Semoga bermanfaat buat para pemirsa sekalian, dan nanti kita bisa bertemu di lain kesempatan. Terima kasih, selamat siang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.